After the death of Kelly Preston, John Travolta vowed he would never fall in love again. He stood by that pledge for 4 years. Then something changed on a movie set in April 2024. When the 70-year-old celebrity met someone, he broke his commitment. He was urged to take the risk by his children. According to his buddies, Kelly would desire this. However, no one anticipated the woman who brought about all the changes. More than any of his previous controversies, what transpired next stunned Hollywood. In the movies, daydreaming was the norm. That question would be better answered by you guys than by me. How do you feel? In Englewood, New Jersey, on February 18, 1954, John Travolta was born. His life at home was everything but tranquil. The youngest of 6 children, he was. Sam, his father, put food on the table by working long, greasy hours at his tire shop. Helen, his mother, aspired to be a famous person and had performed on stage and on radio. She used the strategy she had taught to drive all of her children into acting while pursuing her own dwindling passion. The noise in their tiny home was constant. Privacy did not exist. John also had 2 brothers who shared a bedroom. Although life was hectic and chaotic, it taught him how to deal with stress at a young age. Despite the pandemonium, he learned how to stand out. Travolta shocked everyone by making a decision at the age of 16. In 1970, on a chilly November day, he announced his intention to leave school. For months, he had been saving money by walking to work rather than taking the bus and missing meals. He had a strategy and $150. Over supper that evening, he told his family. His father tossed his cup of coffee. The mother wept for 3 days. His siblings pleaded with him to remain. Travolta, however, had already purchased a one-way ticket to New York. He put a copy of the actor's studio guide and a few clothes in a luggage on December 12. He taped his locker code to the mirror so his brother could wipe it out before he went. The situation did not improve in New York. Travolta endured rejection for 8 months. He was living off of cheap hot dogs and hope. He then overheard 2 actors discussing a Grease audition one day in August 1971 while doing laundry. The show had never been watched by him. He claimed to have, but he lied. During his 4-minute audition, the director was drawn to his enthusiasm. He was hired for the touring company's duty position. He played 312 gigs during the course of the following 11 months, visiting 47 places. More than he had ever seen, he earned $185 every week. That position led to Broadway, where he co-starred with the Andrews sisters in the film Over Here. They were initially skeptical of him, but after opening night, they changed their minds. Travolta gambled again in 1974. Hollywood is where he now lives. He had a beaten-up Oldsmobile, $847, and no contacts. While traveling, the automobile broke down twice. He spent $3 a day taking showers at a gym and sleeping in parking lots when he arrived. His first role on Emergency was that of an unconscious accident victim. He received $75 for his 47-second on-screen time. A single line about the rookies followed. It wasn't easy. It was an unexpected great chance. His agent called him after he had left a failed audition. For a new show, a casting director required someone. 23 minutes late and wearing the incorrect outfit, Travolta hurried across town. He was cast as Vinnie Barbarino on the television series Welcome Back Kotter. Everything changed when the show debuted on September 9, 1975. Without warning, Travolta rose to fame. For months, he studied Brooklyn youths to perfect his accent. He spent time in Coney Island, where he listened to actual high school students. His neighbors believed him to be from the area. Within 6 weeks, he was receiving more than 10,000 fan letters per week. It took 2 employees for ABC to read them all. His slogan, "Up your nose with a rubber hose," appeared everywhere. One line of items, which included lunchboxes, stickers, and shirts, brought in nearly $2 million by Christmas. The celebrity did have a drawback, though. For the directors, he was just the witty teenager. Serious roles were unattainable. "Don't want Barbarino in my movie," the director declared when he tried out for Saturday Night Fever. Travolta needed to establish himself as more than a slogan. Next up was Diana Hyland. While filming The Boy in the Plastic Bubble in 1976, Travolta got to know the lady who would play his mother. Her age was 40. His age was 22. They connected immediately. They were together in a matter of weeks. Discussions concerning the 18-year age difference were unabated. Hyland has a young son and had previously been married. They didn't care that Travolta was still a new star. They were smitten. They conversed constantly, both on and off set. He had never felt that way about anyone, Travolta would later claim. He was ignorant about Hyland's illness. She had previously underwent surgery after being diagnosed with breast cancer in 1975. Even at first, she didn't tell him. The cancer returned, despite her optimism that it wouldn't when they first started dating. Travolta claimed that it wasn't until 2 weeks prior to her death that she realized she was dying. She continued to work, nevertheless. Amidst the development of the cancer, she completed 4 episodes of 8 is Enough. She didn't ever voice any complaints. Then the call that made all the difference arrived. As Travolta's health deteriorated, he was filming Saturday Night Fever. He made a snap decision. Leaving the set, he took a plane to Los Angeles. They had been preparing for a future together, including a home, a life, and possibly a marriage. For their trip to Rio after the film was finished, he had chosen a white suit. The trip never took place. Diana Hyland died in his arms on March 27, 1977. She was 41. Travolta had a vivid memory of it. Her breath left her, and I felt it. There were also her close pals and co-stars. It was a modest, personal farewell. Travolta was spotted on a flight to New York by artist Andy Warhol 2 days later. The paper cup of juice and vodka, the silent sobbing, and the red eyes caught Warhol's attention. Travolta cried and covered his head in a pillow. He was dressed in the white suit they had chosen jointly for the memorial service. He returned to complete Saturday Night Fever. The fact that every dance and every scene on TV originated from actual anguish was unknown to the public. He received an Oscar nomination for that performance. It was not just acting. Grief in motion. Hyland's final remarks, Travolta subsequently stated, gave him the courage to continue. "You will have to do this work, but I'm leaving now." He did, too. He became a star because to the film. A young man who was still grieving over the love he lost too soon was hidden beneath the fame. Grease burst onto theaters in 1978. It had only cost $6 million to produce. But globally, it generated $366.2 million. It became the year's biggest grossing film and, at the time, the most successful live-action musical ever produced. As Danny Zuko, John Travolta effortlessly enchanted audiences with his singing, dancing, and acting. However, John wasn't having a party behind the scenes. Actress Diana Hyland, whom he loved dearly, had passed away only a year earlier. In 1977, she passed away from breast cancer. Travolta claimed to have never been more in love with a single person in an interview with People magazine. Despite the world's encouragement, John continued to grieve in private because he referred to himself as a one-woman man. Ellen, his sister, who played a minor part as a waiter in Grease, was by his side. It was somewhat helpful, but every song about summer love made him think of a romance he would never be able to rekindle. He was ready for another heartbreak while dancing through his celebrity. Helen Travolta, his mother, was diagnosed with cancer. But nobody informed him. The family kept it a secret so he could take pleasure in the attention without fear. His career has always received Helen's support. She even made a fleeting appearance in Saturday Night Fever. She concealed her suffering by joking at parties and grinning at premieres. As his mother faded away, John was unaware that he was living a dream. The shock followed. Helen's death occurred on December 3, 1978. Her age was 66. His mother had also passed away, only 20 months after Diana's death. Meanwhile, Grease continued to set new marks. A superstar was born. John was totally isolated. It was excruciatingly painful. He lost both of the ladies he loved to cancer. He started to wonder if loss always followed love. He believed that things couldn't get any worse, but then something happened that rocked the family even worse. John Travolta's father, Salvatore Travolta, remarried just 6 months after Helen passed away. It was shocking to everyone, the bride, Helen's nurse, the person who had taken care of her in her last days. It seemed like betrayal to John. He didn't display it in public. He remained cool and courteous. But he was sad and angry inside. His mother had hardly left. Already, his father had moved on. Once solid, the family now seemed fractured. Injuries continued to deepen. John persisted in his task despite the agony. He played the lead in Urban Cowboy in 1980. It appeared promising. There was country music around, and he played a rugged young Texan named Bud Davis. It was a profitable film. Even the country obsession in America was sparked by it, yet something didn't feel right. According to critics, he was merely portraying a different Tony Manero from Saturday Night Fever. Nothing novel, nothing bold. He was simply repeating, he was not growing. People began to become disinterested gradually. They have witnessed this previously. In 1983, Staying Alive followed. The follow-up to Saturday Night Fever was a complete failure. The director was Sylvester Stallone. Despite making $127 million and costing $22 million, the film was a box office failure. Roger Ebert made fun of the extravagant dance scene. It had fire, ice, smoke, lasers, and everything but soul, he claimed. The original's grim reality was absent. It appeared to be a lengthy, ostentatious music video instead. Later on, Entertainment Weekly dubbed it the worst sequel ever. Suddenly, Travolta's reputation collapsed. It was questioned whether his previous successes were the result of pure luck. A Talking Baby, however, offered him another chance in 1989. Whose Speech was an unexpected hit. It made around $300 million, yet it cost $7 million. People in the audience chuckled. The children adored it. Critics ignored the financial indications that the studios saw. Neither Fever nor the Travolta of Grease was this. This babysitter had a sense of humor. In fact, Bruce Willis, who provided the baby's voice, earned more money from the film than Travolta. The movie spawned 2 follow-ups. It got worse with each passing day. With every one, Travolta's standing diminished. His roles were light, funny, and forgettable, but he was still employed. In private, the situation was as complex. Travolta was heavily involved in Scientology during this time. The church, which he had joined prior to his fame, now served as his protection. He was driven farther into the organization by the strain, the loss, and his diminishing fame. He claimed that it helped him cope with both fame and suffering in a 2015 interview. But not everybody thought so. Some ex-members of the church said Travolta was stuck and scared to leave. There were rumors circulating. Documentaries identified the culprits. Rumors circulated concerning secrets and extortion. It all just made the turmoil worse. The majority of people believed that John Travolta's career was ended in 1993. He had transitioned from appearing in popular films like Saturday Night Fever to directing films that were released directly to video. Only one person in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino, thought he could still play meaningful parts. Tarantino surprised everyone by selecting Travolta to play heroin-addicted hitman Vincent Vega during the casting of Pulp Fiction. It was an odd match. Dark drama was not Travolta's forte, dancing was. Studio officials believed Tarantino was insane. They were unaware, however, that Travolta was the one Tarantino had in mind while writing the part. No one else recognized something in him. And that gamble paid off in a way that no one could have foreseen. The Cannes Film Festival hosted the premiere of Pulp Fiction on May 21, 1994. The audience stood for 6 whole minutes, applauding. It was more than just courteous applause. People were cheering, crying, and feeling overwhelmed. The man who had been written off by everyone, John Travolta, was crying as he stepped on stage. His performance was praised by French critics as magnifique. His return was likened to Marlon Brando's. The moment was photographed by dozens of people. It came to represent salvation. Travolta was no longer a faded celebrity. Better than ever, he was back. An even more startling event occurred later that year. An Oscar nomination was made for Travolta. In 1977, he received his first nomination for Saturday Night Fever, which was 17 years ago. Now he was 40. It was this second nomination that disproved the notion that his career had peaked long ago. The vote was not a pity vote. It was not for sentimentality. The recognition was genuine. Morgan Freeman, Paul Newman, Tom Hanks, and other legends were his rivals. That nomination restored his reputation as a serious actor rather than a dancer. And that was crucial to him. It wasn't until Pulp Fiction that Travolta returned to musicals. He made wise, audacious choices. He was a mobster who wanted to be a movie producer in the film Get Shorty. He received a nomination for a Golden Globe. He played a different character from Nicolas Cage in Face Off. Travolta had to simultaneously play 2 different roles. $245 million was made by the movie. Next were the primary colors. He portrayed a persona that was modeled after Bill Clinton. He had never done anything like it before. It was delicate, forceful, and entirely new. Every job showcased a different aspect of his skill. By 1999, Travolta was regarded as one of Hollywood's best actors, not just a return star. It was the same story with his bank account. He was making a meager $150,000 each film in the 1980s. His earnings per picture reached $20 million by 1998. That is a rise of 13,000% in only 5 years. His back-end earnings from Face Off alone brought in an additional $12 million. Industry publications began referring to him as one of Hollywood's most bankable celebrities. Benefits included creative control and private jets. However, the true victory was not the money. Respect was the true prize. Something he had finally regained after years of losing it. While filming The Experts in 1987, Travolta got to know Kelly Preston. At the time, she was married, but she was not happy. It was love at first sight, according to Travolta. He looked at her in a way that she stated would never be forgotten. However, she did not jump into Travolta's arms right after her divorce. Her partner was George Clooney. Charlie Sheen and she were engaged. Whom she received a ring set with 25-carat diamonds. She kept returning to Travolta, though, for some reason. They reconnected after a 3-year separation. It was not a brief love affair. It took time to fall in love. On the eve of 1991, Travolta proposed in a fine dining establishment at the Palace Hotel in Gstaad, Switzerland. He proposed to her at midnight with a 6-carat yellow and white diamond ring. Preston let out a cry. With delight. She had watched Saturday Night Fever as a teenager and then taken dancing classes years before. "I am going to wed the man in the film," she declared to her teacher. It was a dream realized. She became pregnant shortly after the proposal, and their life together formally began. Their friendship was mostly based on their common beliefs in Scientology. Following the death of his girlfriend from cancer, Travolta joined. Prior to their meeting, Preston was already involved. Even their first marriage to a minister of Scientology took place in Paris. Their church provided them with support with the 2009 death of their son, Jet. Preston once said that their parenting was influenced by their ideals. In accordance with Scientology's principles, Preston, for instance, gave birth in silence. Terrible happiness and terrible sorrow coexisted in their family life. 1992 saw the birth of Jet, their first child. He suffered from autism and Kawasaki illness. While on a family vacation in the Bahamas, he suffered a seizure and died at the age of 16. In the year 2000, their daughter, Ella Blue, was born. She did the same, singing and behaving as they did. She even published Little Bird, a song, for her mother. Then came Benjamin in 2010. Preston was 48 years old. He was born about 2 years after the passing of Jet. He was dubbed their miracle baby. According to Travolta, he gave their life meaning once more. Their children meant the world to them. They kept each other grounded, even in Hollywood, and cooked together and had family meals. The new year was meant to get off to a great start. John and Kelly Preston, the Travolta family, their 16-year-old son Jet, and their 8-year-old daughter Ella had taken a plane to the Bahamas to celebrate at their opulent residence in the upscale Old Bahama Bay Resort. They found paradise on the island because of its pristine sand, mild sea, and seclusion. The people loved them. They were given the same treatment as family. However, on January 2, 2009, everything took a turn for the worse. Was discovered in the restroom, unconscious, that morning. Panic sprang out as soon as a nanny found him. Jet had had a severe seizure. His father attempted CPR. Despite paramedics' best efforts, he was taken to the hospital. Was gone, only 16 years old. There had been previous seizures. Jet had been experiencing them for years. They lasted over a minute and occurred every 5 to 10 days. However, this one was unique. The final blow was tremendous. At first, the police said he struck his head on the bathtub, but the death certificate stated that seizure was the only cause of death. No signs of brain trauma were discovered. It's a rare yet real condition. It's known as sudden unexpected death in epilepsy, or SUDEP. Approximately 1 person out of every 1,000 who has epilepsy is affected. It simply hits, it doesn't warn. And it took everything for the Travoltas. However, the aftermath of the death was even more shocking to many. John and Kelly had maintained for years that Jet had the unusual condition known as Kawasaki syndrome, but many people thought he might have autism. The cause? Scientology. Their faith denied the existence of autism. It saw such problems as mental illnesses brought on by harmful forces. Autism was something to reject, not something to treat, according to their worldview. Months passed before John finally came clean during a court hearing. He claimed under oath that Jet had a seizure problem and autism. His church's teachings were directly contradicted by this disclosure. Former members of the Scientology started to speak out. They said the church disapproved of medical care. According to one, disease only occurs when you have a relationship with someone who is against Scientology. If Jet had been treated properly, some said, perhaps, just possibly, things would have turned out differently. But that was only the beginning of the family's tragedy. A $25 million extortion plan was launched against John Travolta just weeks after Jet's passing. The conspiracy was spearheaded by a paramedic who had really treated Jet and a senator from the Bahamas. They threatened to make public a signed document proving that John had originally requested that Jet be flown to Florida but later changed his mind. The aim? Make it appear as though John caused his son's death. $25 million in hush money was what they sought. On hidden video, they were seen negotiating. The matter is resolved. One even burned and flushed the document's sold copy down a toilet, claiming it was buried deeper than the Titanic. It was cruel and disgusting. After a politician acted prematurely and declared an acquittal before the verdict, the first trial ended in a mistrial. It made heartbreak much more painful. John continued on despite the scandals and sadness. He made his TV comeback in 2016. He appeared in The People vs. O.J. as lawyer Robert Shapiro Simpson. The role reminded people of his former Hollywood royalty status and got him accolades for awards. He proved he could still control the screen at the age of 62. The following decade, however, wasn't good. Travolta was accused of sexual assault in separate lawsuits brought by 3 male masseurs in 2012. Among the alleged events were those at upscale hotels in Atlanta and Beverly Hills. They were surprising and graphic claims. Following evidence from Travolta's crew that he wasn't in town, one accuser rescheduled the dates. The damage was done even though all lawsuits were eventually dropped. Tabloids continued to mention him. Then another court battle ensued. According to his ex-pilot Douglas Gotterba, they were romantically involved for a long time. A secrecy agreement was what he desired. Travolta's attorneys retaliated by claiming it was ridiculous. However, the tale served simply to feed old gossip. More folks raised their voices. "I always knew Travolta was gay," stated Travolta's former aide. An ex-Scientology official claimed to have witnessed Travolta kissing a male masseuse. Margaret Cho, an actress, even made a public joke about Travolta's strong homosexuality. Travolta referred to it as the celebrity's weak point. He acknowledged that the rumors would never completely go away, but he refuted everything. Tragedy was still lurking behind closed doors while everyone else speculated. Kelly Preston was diagnosed with breast cancer sometime in 2018. She decided not to tell anyone. Not many people were aware. She continued to work, going to public functions and even strutting the red carpet. The 2018 Gotti premiere marked her last public appearance. On July 12, 2020, 2 years later, she passed away. The time was 11:46 a.m. at their house in Florida. She was 57. 3 weeks after sharing a heartwarming Father's Day picture of John and their children, she passed away. It ended up being her final statement to the public. A cremation was performed in Brooksville, Florida. Before John informed everyone, no one knew she had cancer. On Instagram, he made the announcement. It was an honest and unvarnished post. He wrote, "With great sadness, I must notify you that my lovely wife, Kelly, has lost her 2-year fight with breast cancer." He claimed he needed time to spend with their kids, Benjamin and Ella. Most people were unaware of her sickness until then. Condolences from fans and celebrities poured into the post. The love was genuine despite the great pain. Throughout it all, John had been there for Kelly. He accompanied her to MD Anderson Cancer Center for treatment. He declined roles in films and public events. He put her and his family first, on giving their children the most regular life possible. This was not the first time this had happened to him. His girlfriend Diana Hyland also passed away from breast cancer in 1977. Kelly's passing returned that pain. He had kids this time, though, and they needed him. Their rock was him. The past several years of John Travolta's life have taken unexpected turns. Some have left followers perplexed, while others have been heartwarming and controversial. He is pals with producer Randall Emmett, which is one of the most unexpected aspects. The headlines have featured Emmett's name for all the wrong reasons. Due to lawsuits, allegations of abuse, and fraud, his business almost went out of business in 2023. Even though Lala Kent, his ex-fiancée, was already well known, matters worsened when former workers came out. He threw a ping-pong paddle so forcefully, according to one aide, that it broke a glass door. An invoice was even provided for the $800 fix. Another assistant, only 24 years old, claimed she was afraid of him but felt unable to express it. So why would Travolta maintain such a close relationship with someone? Especially while he was grieving the loss of his wife, Kelly Preston. He apparently started to distance himself from Scientology at the same time. Individuals who knew him from that world began to doubt his judgment. Travolta had always been seen as a loyal parent and a loving spouse, but this time it didn't seem like him. Everything appeared more complex and rather gloomy because of the connection to Emmett. Another unexpected turn of events followed. Travolta reportedly became close to Kristen Davis, the actress most remembered for her role as Charlotte in Sex and the City, in April 2024. They got to know one another during the cash-out movie shoot. There was clear chemistry between them, according to insiders. Travolta, now 70, was bragging to friends about her intelligence and beauty. Since Kelly's death over 4 years prior, no one had connected him to a potential relationship until now. What was even more unexpected about it? Benjamin and Ella, his children, were cool with it. According to reports, they liked Kristen and wanted their dad to be happy once more. People on set were complimenting Travolta on his appearance, and his pals were urging him to take the risk, according to sources. However, there's a catch. Travolta has been quite hesitant to reopen. His friends claim that he still fears showing vulnerability. He has always been kind and has a large heart, according to them. It could be that dread of losing love again that is preventing him from moving forward. Following Kelly's passing, Travolta quietly vowed to himself, "I will never date again," he declared. To him, it would be a disgrace to her memory. That was his guiding principle for over 3 years. Until the rest of his life, he promised to remain faithful to her. However, in 2023, things began to shift. Those close to him noticed the onset of loneliness. Kelly would have wanted him to be happy, his friends and relatives reminded him. According to them, life is too brief to be spent by himself. That message was amplified in December 2022 with the passing of his close friend Kirstie Alley. He felt a tremor. He had lost someone he loved. Travolta began to consider that perhaps he didn't want to be alone forever by the middle of 2023. It was revealed in May 2024 that even his children were pushing him to date. Travolta paused, however. His children come first, he insisted. He gave justifications. The time wasn't right, he remarked.